Welcome back, folks. This is episode number whatever, I forgot. Chief Barnes is over here playing with all the buttons. This is episode 108. 108 of the Behind the Badge podcast at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. I'm with my partner, Tisdale. How you doing, Tiz?
Doing good, doing good.
Tiz?
Loving life. Everything's
Why?
going well.
Why?
Hey,
Why are you living life?
It's a new day. Things going on all over the bureau.
I thought you were going to...
talked offline.
I thought you were going to reference the Steelers there for a minute.
Oh, well, they're going good, too.
They're going good.
We got our own issues there, though.
You guys haven't listened for a while. Tiz runs his own podcast on Steeler Nation. And talking about them Pittsburgh Steelers. You and Jamie are just huge fans.
Okay.
But I do got to bring something out. I mean, the Dolphins.
Yeah, looking like a powerhouse.
70.
Yeah, that was
Buffalo's
crazy.
got their work cut out for them, I think.
It comes to a point where you got to have it shouldn't be like a mercy flag.
A mercy rule. A mercy rule. Like,
oh, my God.
like in little guy soccer. He scored 40-some runs.
They got to keep scoring to get their BCS ranking up.
Right.
There you go. So they can get a top 4. That's awesome. Tiz, we got a couple familiar faces back with us. Chief Barnes of the Fairport Police Department, Chief Long of the Gates Police Department. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks
This
for
is
having us.
actually, we had a great episode maybe about a year and a half ago, and talking about you guys as brand new chiefs of your respective departments. And Chief Long had a great idea. He was like, hey, can we come back and talk about scar tissue and my scar tissue I've received in
the last year.
heavy as the head, right?
Yeah.
It's lonely at the top. All these cliches that we hear, it's true though, isn't it, gentlemen?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So it was good idea. Come on back. Let's see what's happened the last year and a half in your departments, but also leadership lessons gained and learned and what's been working well. So great to have you back. Chief Barnes, real quick recap. Who are you? What do you do for a living besides?
So Matt Barnes, I work with the Fairport Police Department. Been there a little while now. Became chief about a year and a half or so ago. Took over from Sam Farina, who was our prior chief, great chief, who is now with the Fairport Central School District.
There's your swearing in with your beautiful bride.
Yep, been a long year. A lot of lessons learned.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of lessons learned. That's called leadership.
Yeah.
When I teach, I talk about scar tissue. You know, you can read all the books and manuals you want, and that's good. But when you get zapped a couple times, you're like, all right, that didn't work so well, or watch other people. What about the fine Chief Long? A little bit about yourself, real quick.
Yeah, Robert Long. Just hit 21 years total in law enforcement. So 18 with the town of Gates. Became chief last year, like probably a month before Barnesy took over in Fairport. So we were fairly new last year when we came in here together. I took over after the legend James Van Brederode retired. He was chief for almost 10 years out our way, and he was a good mentor, and took over after that, and just trying to keep my feet wet and keep moving on. You're talking about scar tissue.
Man. Yeah, you got thrown into it. Well, you both did. Nothing's easy in this job. It's amazing having partners like you. I think one of the key things that we got to talk about though is both you came from another police department, right? I mean, you got that multi-jurisdiction education, if you will, how do other people do it, and then bring it to your own. And I think that's important. You came from RPD, Chief.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think it's and continued too to have interactions with other departments, whether it's through our law enforcement council meetings or our chiefs meetings once a month. Just hear how other people are doing it, what went right, what went wrong, to try to avoid some of the pitfalls and maybe steer towards the good things.
Right.
Let me ask you something.
And Chief Long,
I'm
MCSO,
sorry.
just kind of brag about that real quick. The Star.
Yeah. I was
a Star at one time.
I started with the sheriff's part-time, airport, Star, Parks, Marine unit. Through all that experience is how I met actually Barnesy out, and I think you were out in Fairport at the time, either a sergeant or a patrol officer. We got to teach an in-service together.
Yeah, we did.
Out, and it was actually held out in one of the Gates firehouses, so we worked together then, and just it's two law enforcement professionals, and at that day standing there with them, I never would have thought that fast forward 8-10 years we were going to be chiefs calling each other once a week saying, hey, what's this problem, how do you got it? Because Fairport, even being on the east side, Gates being on the west side, we're a little bit bigger. I probably got double the staff, but we're still small enough where what affects me affects him, and vice versa. And we're constantly, any of these law changes or policy changes, we're both small enough where we don't have the staffing to do a lot of things. So we got to get creative and improvise, and
You got to do it yourself.
Yeah, and it's good running it off Matt's head because he's pretty smart. He knows what he's doing out there in the law enforcement world. So it's like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. He might be like, well, you may not, or hey, brother, that's a great idea. Just do it, run with it. And it's a good mentor and coach to have, at the same level. So
that's great.
How did it feel for you guys going from where you were before to all of a sudden now you're the main man. And like you said, you're trying to uphold to the guys before you, whether better or worse. But I mean, just trying to uphold to that standard. How did that feel for you guys first coming in?
I think, I've had a while at this job. I think I'm in my 26th year now. So I think it would have been way different if I had 15 years on.
Right.
I think it was maybe a little different for me because I was in Fairport so long. You know how you want to be treated, right? You know what works and what doesn't work in that town or that police department setting. So, and it comes down to, the sheriff and I always we teach leadership. We have a program, we teach leadership, and we always talk about leadership, and we wonder how people get it so wrong. I try to get it right every day. I'd like to believe some days I get it pretty good, and some days maybe I'm off, but that leaders eat last mentality. Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to, that servant leadership, that whatever title you want to place upon it, I really think it's that simple. I really, truly do. I think it comes down to that, at least for me, and I know for the sheriff it does too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think for me, I could compare it to like a minor league sports team, right? So when I was a road patrol lieutenant, I was kind of like in the minor leagues. You had Chief Van Brederode, who's the major leagues, right? He's the guy running the show, but he would bring you into some of the things, like he was doing budgeting, and he would bring me in and say, hey, listen, this is how you do a budget from an early on standpoint. This is how he would handle a citizen complaint on the phone. He'd call me in, put it on speakerphone, and then he'd say, hey, watch this. This is how you handle a citizen. But just taking me by the hand, unfortunately, and showing me every little step of the way. But that's how you build and you see. And then, I'll be honest to tell you, there's some things that he did that I was like, maybe not. And that's where you change as a leader and bring a little difference to your organization. Either changing the look on a car, for example, like the sheriff's office went through and changed the logos. Those are different things that a different administration brings. And, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I'm not going to say that I'm the best leader by any realm there. I make my mistakes too, and
daily,
it's just
right?
owning them.
Daily.
Yeah, oh yeah, daily.
Yeah, leaders.
Yep.
Under Sheriff Corey Brown says it all the time, and our newly promoted people, every time we promote people, we sit down a good hour with them and give them our expectations and our pet peeves. And one of his best sayings is, hey, no one in this room is smarter than anybody else. We just have different job descriptions, right? So let's start out with that base, that I'm not smarter than you and you're not smarter than me. And both of us have strengths and weaknesses, so let's support those. And that's where you get the secret to the sauce of leadership. It sounds cliche, you surround you start off with people that are smarter than you, but
Yep.
It sounds cliche, but when you do it, there's vulnerability there, right? There's intimidation. There's, you're supposed to be the boss and all-knowing, right? And have all the answers to all the questions. And that's just never true. Never true. And
no way.
I think Chief Long put it good, when you think you're the man, that's when you're in trouble. When you think you got it all, that's when you're going to set yourself up for total failure.
But if you do fail, because we do fail in life,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you pick yourself back up and you keep going on. But I think it's more, it shows more leadership quality when you can say, listen, I failed at this. All right, so now how am I going to improve this? And this is what I'm going to do. This is what I need you to do. This is how we have to work as a group to get this done.
I was going to ask you both a question on leadership and management, right? And we know there's a difference between the two, and you got to be able to do both. Or get people around you that are very good at the other one that you're not good at, right? So if you're a good leader, get a good manager. If you're a good manager, develop some leadership skills or get leadership with you. And usually we're good at one. So let me ask the opposite question. I didn't mean to throw you guys under the bus here, but give me one leadership skill you would improve upon yourself, Chief Long. What would be, as a self-evaluation, which every good boss should do, probably does at 3 o'clock in the morning most times, I do. Damn, I shouldn't have done that. What would you like to improve? I mean, honestly.
You're out mowing the lawn, and it's like,
I shouldn't have said that, or I should have done this.
And I will wholeheartedly say this one. One of my downfalls is not delegating. And I was thinking about this recently, and I was talking to actually the 2 lieutenants, and I was like, something comes to my desk, and I'm just like, all right, I want it done, and I got to get it done, and I just jump into something,
right?
And then next thing you know, you got 1 thing, 2, 4, 6, 8, and now it's like piling on, and slowly I saw that I wasn't getting some of the things done because I was too busy jumping into others, and then slowly I had to take this little look back and say, listen, all right, this is. Not that it's not something I could do, but hey, let me pass this on to somebody else who's not doing anything, or let me delegate this out to an officer or sergeant. And
at the same time, you're developing
the
people below you.
And that was the other thing, too, is that by taking away some of these things, like working on grants, for example, now nobody else knows how to work on grants. Right? So how am I developing my subordinates or the people below me that are going to come up through the ranks at some point and take over? and they'll never know how to write a grant. So it's like, all right, yeah, write this traffic safety grant. It's something small, but just do it instead
we'll
of
walk through it together.
Yep. Yeah, and you have that resource there. Like, I'm the resource. I can help them to do it, and then someday they're going to be in my spot, and they'll help somebody else. And that was instead of taking everything all on at once, pass it on to other people too.
And the unfortunate part, we're A-type personalities. We're like, I can just get this done, right? I'm just going to knock it out, or I don't want to ask anybody, right? Chief Barnes,
I got
number one development thing you could do for yourself as far as a
on
leader.
Serious note, if I had to self-evaluate, it's probably patience with me. I know what needs to be done. I know how to do it. I just need people to implement that. Sometimes I just need to take another couple of but it's frustrating. You know what I mean? Just go knock it out, square it away. Let's move forward. This needs to happen. But that's it for me is patience.
Yeah.
And people who know me are probably laughing right now. You got to get it. If there's a to-do list, let's just do it.
Just do it. Knock it out, right?
So, but it's probably patience with me. That's definitely my downfall.
Hey, and I hope people understand how humble you two gentlemen are, and that's you're on a podcast talking about how you can improve yourself. That's what leaders should be doing.
I didn't say that was the only thing.
Yeah, I was going to say there's many room.
No, I'm calling both your brides right now to find out what the real answer are.
There's a lot of room for improvement on this side.
Let me ask you guys something. What do you enjoy most of your role as chief of your prospective towns? And
I know this might be a cliche answer, but the compliments that you get from our town residents or people outside of our town, because I do a lot of travel into Chili and Henrietta and Greece to go shopping and do some other things, and you run into people who recognize you, and they talk about, oh, hey, Gates, you got a good police department out there. You guys are doing the good thing. Right. You guys are fighting good, and you're trying to help us out. And there's a lot of our residents that you'll see out there, and they'll pull up to you and say, hey, I know a lot of people don't say this, but great job out there. Or they see you in uniform. It just happened on Friday night. I was working the road a little bit with the guys before homecoming, and I stopped to get a Pepsi at one of the gas stations, and I come walking out, and this lady, she goes, hey, I'm a resident. I've been watching you guys forever. Thank you for what you do. You guys are out there, and you're doing it good. And she's got in her car and drove away. And I get in my car, I'm like, yeah. But then it sits in for a second. You're like, oh, man, there are people out there that still love us, still want us there, still support the police, still support the blue, and that makes you feel good as a chief, because now whatever policies and procedures I'm doing that my people are doing, in return are working.
Yeah.
They're not hurting our residents, and they're helping our residents out, and whatever we're doing patrol-wise, they recognize that we're out there trying to do what's good for our area and our community.
Yeah, that's powerful, because a lot of it, when you start, like you said, when you start to realize that the residents have that buy-in and that backing, that's a beautiful thing. And like you said, it makes that department sparkle. And, both you guys have been doing a phenomenal job. So how about you? How do you feel, with that role?
I think I hate politics. I really do. I realize, obviously, ultimately you're a politician, right? You get elected. When I say that, it's not a shot. You took it as a shot. So what's it say about you? Not a shot at all.
I go through a political process.
Okay. However you want. That's the problem. Retitling, reshelfing, renaming. I am more just cut the bull, and he's a politician. He is. And it's not a bad thing. It's just whatever. It's what society calls for, right? And it's a good thing, actually.
Why
Sheriffs are elected.
Chief,
They're not appointed. It is.
Right.
And I think therefore.
No, absolutely.
Right. So it just.
We bust chops a lot. But.
The hardest thing for me is the politics. I do not like the politics, and it'll probably be the reason I leave this job. It really will. The one thing I still enjoy about this job, I still like the guys. I don't hate my men. I don't. Mm-hmm. There's some chiefs that hate their men. You know what I mean? Not hate their men, but I appreciate our guys. I really do. They work hard. Okay. They do their best every single day, and sometimes they get it. A lot of times they get it spot on. Sometimes they don't, but a lot of times more so than not, they do a great job. I still like meeting with people. I really do. They come in, and especially in a smaller town like Fairport, they'll still come into the office. Hey, they want to talk to the chief. Doesn't matter if I'm the most knowledgeable person in that building or not. They still want to talk to me, right? They don't know me. Just had a guy come in last week, lived in the town, said sit down. He was being scammed. It was an easy conversation, easy fix. But I still like that. I think you should still have that connection with the people. I really, really, truly do.
Yeah, and that's huge, because the connection, like we just said, that connection with the people in the towns, especially smaller towns as well, that builds a special bond. You know what I mean? And it's something that you can't push off to the side. You guys are showing it with the phenomenal work that you guys are doing in your towns. So,
Yeah, we joke a lot about metro policing, right? And we always have these conversations. And there's some smaller police departments in Monroe County. There's some very large ones, RPD and Greece. Greece got about 100 people, I think. So
They did.
They did. They did. Sorry, Chief.
I think they're rebuilding
Sorry,
right now. Mike is doing a great job, by the way.
Absolutely. But one of the benefits of that smaller police department, and I truly believe in this, your law enforcement should be as close to the community as possible. And one of the benefits of being, you mentioned politics, is every 4 years I'm accountable to the people. 750,000 people in Monroe County can come out and say yay or nay, right? And that gives you that ownership, right? I work directly for them. And when you get to these smaller towns, you can walk in and talk to the chief. It's hard to do that in the Rochester Police Department. No offense to Chief Smith or anything, but it's a huge organization. It's hard to do that with the Sheriff's Office. I got 1,100 employees, 750 people incarcerated today, right? That's a lot of responsibility. It's just hard to do. So that's one of the benefits. And, I remember back in the day there was a lot of talk about, when you get certain federal administrations or all this stuff that we went through in the last few years, we need to federalize law enforcement. Like, ooh, calm down. Careful what you want, because you might like it under this president, this administration, but what happens is different. Where no matter what happens, you're knocking on Chief Long door, on his door, right? And they say, I need to talk to you. I'm a constituent. And that's probably going to happen. So I think that local law enforcement is just a great way to do business. The closer to the community, the better, when you have this much power and authority.
Yeah, that's one of the things, too, I learned from Chief and Brother Road is like when the residents come in and they want to talk to the chief, every once in a while we got to do a little screening process. We all understand that at the window.
Some might be
because they might be there constantly every day if you keep giving input. You always talk to your residents. You always talk to the constituents that are coming in, people walking in a town hall. If I'm walking to one of the offices, you stop, hey, how's it going? Just introduce yourself. Just you got to be open and out there, because that's where we are. Like you're saying, the smaller departments, even I can imagine in a small village, the chief here probably knows half the residents. He's probably run into them at some point walking up and down the streets. So you got to keep that tight-knit and that bond in returning phone calls. Residents call all the time, or giving somebody the delegation. I learned that in a previous question. Delegate out some of the return calls, but at least getting back to your residents and letting them know.
At least getting back to them.
Yep.
Take time to explain, we used to say back in the old day, right?
And if you don't know the answers, I used to keep a stack of your cards, and I just give them out to people. Yeah. Sheriff Baxter.
Yeah, we do that too. If you don't know the answer, call C-Zone. So,
that's nice. Yep. Very nice.
Now, we've talked about some of the positive things, but what are
Are you going to defend the sheriff's office? No, you just went on to positive.
Tisdale, continue on your mission.
I'm getting beat up over here.
Continue on your mission. He's a big boy. He's fine.
He's got it. He can handle it.
He'll come back. What are some of the challenges that your department faced? That you guys see?
So I'll start off with this one. There's challenges, obviously, from budgetary to personnel, like we're all having strength of schedule, stuff like that. Obviously, in our town, we have a ton of events going on, right? There's always a pull. Obviously, the Sheriff's Department answers our call a lot. The state troopers, the city, Greece, everyone helps us out with our events. They're just too large events for size of our department to handle by ourselves. So that mutual aid thing's huge, too. That's a huge challenge. The other things, I was in a meeting last week. Went to a residence, husband and wife. I went with our mayor and another one of our police officers, talking about stolen cars. And we had their car got stolen previously. Obviously, a big deal here in Rochester. I think we're up 364%. I think it's the nation's highest, and the highest in the nation here in metropolitan Rochester. So, I pulled the numbers. MCAC, Dave, who leads MCAC, did a great job, pulled the numbers for me. Wanted to sit down and dissect where are we at, right? Fairport, not in competition to other departments, just in relation to other departments to find out where we're going. I think we had 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Wow.
Okay. There has been 3,800 stolen cars in metropolitan Rochester this year for the first 8 months, which is, those numbers are pretty close. I don't know, Sheriff?
Yeah, 3,300. It's the last count I heard, but that was last week, so it could very well be.
Yeah, so I think we're up near there, which is astronomical.
And let me just take a step back. We kind of giggle about that because the number's so ridiculously high.
Yeah, we're not laughing.
We got those are 3,300 victims waking up in the morning. That's atrocious. And 6 in your village.
Yeah.
Those are 6 people waking up going, my whole life just got thrown in turmoil here for what? I parked my car last night and went to bed. And that's not fair to anybody. I don't want to make light of that. There's 300 victims, but the number's so ridiculous. It's like absurd. What the heck's going on?
Drive on that exact point what the sheriff just said. So you look at the numbers and you're like, God, we're doing a great job, which we are, okay? And I'll stand in front of a camera or anything and say we're not when we're not, but we are doing a great job. Our guys are out humping at dark 30 in the morning, and they're doing the things they need to be doing. But when you go and meet with a family, regardless if you've had one or 400, and we met with the nicest couple going. I didn't know those people until this. So I don't want to say crime brought us together, but we sat down in their home, invited in their home. I don't drink coffee. Coffee was offered. Donuts were offered. I don't do that, but we broke bread with them, right? And we sat in their house and we talked to them. They invited us into their life because they were a victim of a crime. So it's tough to say, God, we just have 6, but those are 6 cars. And if you really think of it this way, a car, everyone says, oh, it's a car. It's 98% of Americans' second largest investment, right? We go house and then cars for most Americans. We don't have, I always say, a second house or third house in the Maldives, right? Most of us don't. Right. Most of us have our house, our largest investment, and our cars are our second largest investment. That's someone's second largest investment getting taken from them. So whatever. That's so stuff like that, I guess, kind of brings you together, in a small town or a big town. So I have that ability, obviously, to go out and still reach out personally like that, and that's what I enjoy. So
right.
Yeah, in that case though, that might be the one and only time that couple calls 911.
Their whole life.
In their whole life. It could be
great couple.
They've been victimized.
Great people.
Yeah, and they don't. Yeah. They don't know. It's not the norm for them. I'm not saying that some people are victimized all the time, but these people have never called 911. They lost their car. They lost their means of travel to go to work, to see family.
Take the kids somewhere, right?
Yeah. And I'll tell you this too. And at least in our town, you're accountable. You're accountable as a police chief.
Yeah.
You're accountable as a patrolman. You're accountable as a sergeant. You hear that. I came from RPD. I worked Clinton section, 277 car beat, busiest car beat in the entire city of Rochester. You didn't know anybody. You were taking 20 to 25 calls a night. That's what you went to.
Right.
On a summer night, some calls waited till the next day. We came in the next day. There was a burg report still waiting because of the volume of calls. They take 500,000 calls a year, 500,000 calls a year, right?
Right.
Or, right, Sheriff? Mm-hmm. I think since 311, they've cut it down to like 300 or whatever because most of them are now taking over the phone. But it's crazy, the numbers in that department. But still, with Fairport, you're held accountable. Yeah. You are held accountable.
And we should be. And victims, right? This whole reform that we went through, we've had 6 massive reforms come down I-90 at us within less than 48 months, right? And just that causes chaos, right? You can agree with them all, the tenets of them, maybe, all that. But when you have that massive reform, and none of those reforms, think about this, none of those reforms talked about victims.
None.
That's the part that gets my crawl. None of them talked about what are we going to do to ensure victims' rights, what are we going to do to ensure victim is at least accounted for in this equation. They were all defendant rights or defendant. And again, some of those tenets of those reforms were needed, I think. Bail, we bastardized bail for years, but we practiced it to keep the community safe, right? We practiced to keep the repeat offenders where they need to be, detained. And when that went away, we didn't have any way to practice that anymore. So again, we can argue about that and make the laws better. But the fact is not one of those talked about those 3,000 victims and holding people that make these laws accountable for that other side of it. That's a whole different subject, and we can have a podcast or 5 on that. Like people making these laws need to go talk to the end users, need to go talk to the victims, because we are daily talking to those victims, and you're being held directly accountable. Your job description, your officer's job description, is being questioned about their ability to keep their community safe. And all we need is sometimes a little backup on some of these laws, right? Just give us a tool or two to get these people, slow them down, detain them, and find out what the heck's going on in their life, why they're doing their criminality. They're being accused of crime. At least figure that part out before you release them back into the community.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do your job and do the things you want to do, like you said as well, when you're in other words, being handcuffed yourself. From the way that the laws are set. So
it's an unfair playing field right now because law enforcement being held accountable for something that we didn't help create. We weren't invited to the table to help create it, right? And then the other side of it is, well, there's a crime, 3,300 stolen vehicles. It's got to be a law enforcement issue, right? Because we're responsible for crime, apparently. But, we all know at this table, because we're in the stakeholder group of, if we just had some laws that backed this up just a little bit, right? We don't have to go back to where we were, but, you got a repeat offender out there just refusing to comply. They need to be detained and figure out what the hell is going on in their life. Their parents got to be involved in this conversation before we release them, right? At least something. You got 3 guns, City of Rochester. We bailed a guy out of jail last year. We bailed. His mom bailed him out. $5,000 bond, right? Or, $50,000 bond, which sounds like a significant amount of money when we're talking about bail. This was his 3rd gun charge. And the 2nd gun charge, he shot into his girlfriend's window, right? So no money in the world should be involved in this whole exercise of detaining or not. You got 3 guns in the City of Rochester. The 2nd one, shooting into your girlfriend's house. You probably should be detained. right? And money should not be
Right.
part of this evaluation at all, right? Whether you're rich or poor is just irrelevant. Are you dangerous or repeating your criminal offense? You refuse to stop. And I was going to ask you, Chief Long, if you could fix anything, again, not to talk about all the reforms, but what is one tool you need right now when it comes to legislation? What would be the one thing you would ask for?
Oh gosh, there's a whole list of them. But
I know.
yeah.
Yeah. Again, we can make 5 episodes out of this. But.
I think, and I've used this at public conversations too, when residents bring it up and talk to us about the different reforms, and in some speeches that I've given to the media or interviews, I brought up how, and this is a credit to you guys here at the Sheriff's Office and what you were doing, starting to do some of the drug rehab, counseling, changing the way you saw incarcerated individuals in the Monroe County Jail, getting them services, getting them help, trying to change their behavior. Mm-hmm. And you guys started doing that,
right?
And now we can't bring anybody to you.
The treatment courts.
Yeah.
And the treatment courts are empty.
Yeah. And those are the big things. We have a huge population of people with mental health issues in Monroe County, with drug or alcohol, substance abuse issues.
Right.
And they need help. Not throw the key, lock them up, throw the key away on every single individual, because there's a lot of people out there that we've run into. I've run into people in town that said, "You arrested me once for DWI. I haven't drank since that day." You know, those are the good, fuzzy feelings that we get inside, and it does work. And you guys were setting the pace. You guys had the programs. You were doing this, doing that, and now we can't even have a judge send somebody down to kind of forcefully get them the help that you guys were giving them.
Right.
So I would say it's onto that kind of the bail reform. Give the judges the power back to send some people to jail. I mean, there's a learning experience when you take an 18-year-old who just gets arrested for, like 3-4 petty larcenies from our Walmart or our Wegmans, and they have these 3 open charges. You take them to jail for a couple days, and they learn. There is a learning curve to that.
Or you don't. You just keep on giving them appearance. There's a learning curve there, too.
And then you give them
learning
the
that there's no
appearance
accountability
ticket,
for this behavior.
Yeah.
And if I got nothing else going on in my life, what do I got to lose? Chief, I'm sorry. One thing you'd improve on all the reforms. Give me
I'm going to
one.
lose my job if I answer this question.
Okay, moving on.
All right. It comes back to accountability. Mm-hmm. Everyone focuses on cops. Everyone focuses on agencies and stuff like that. And it's hard. It's hard. And I don't even want to say it. How about we start a website called You Be the Judge or Judge the Judge?
Right.
We list the judge. We list the defense attorney at that point, or assigned counsel, whoever it may be. We list the suspect's name with the maximum allowable enforcement, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, whatever, and then the sentence given. And we'll keep track of relationships between judges, defense attorneys, so on and so forth. Hold everyone accountable. Why is it just us? Have politicians wear body cameras. Why is it just us? Everybody, not just us. We're one step in that stairway. No one holds anyone else accountable. Nobody. And I'll stop at that because I want to go on, and you're smiling.
Yeah.
No, I want to go on.
It's profound.
I'm done with this, and no one wants to speak it because we're talking bad about people.
Yeah,
it's the truth.
Well, people got to see it, like you said, on a podcast like this. You see the frustration that goes around, just not from the public, but it's in house as well, and it's very visible, and we need help, and like you said, the laws, things got to change. That's what it comes down to. But in touching base on that, I seen there was a lot of new things coming out there, and the people out there in your town. What's some different things they can look forward to out there? I see you guys.
Don't think I'm not recognizing you just shifting gears here, Tisdale. All right, I recognize that shift pattern.
No, so I just want to solidify what you're saying. There needs to be accountability in all parts of the system. We are one small part of the criminal justice system, right? And it's a whole system. There needs to be accountability, but there also needs to be clear evaluation of laws and what's working, do more of that. What's not working, tweak them. Let's be bold enough to say no perfect law ever came out of Albany. No perfect general order ever was created by Todd Baxter. And I got pages and pages of policy, right? No perfect operational plan when I was a SWAT cop ever went perfect, right?
And don't have an military guy come to town last week and tell us to charge certain things, then it's going to work better.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're smart
ridiculous.
enough. I think we made that phone call. Trust me. Like I wouldn't say that, but that's the way it is. I mean, that's the playing field we're doing. But our job is to call these things out because we're public safety. And we're not doing it to throw people under the bus. We're just
No.
saying, if you want to improve public safety, we're professionals. Of this room right here, we got, I'll do the math real quick, how many hundreds of years of experience. So we got some expertise in public safety. So at least consider our opinions and
Have
consider
honest
our tools,
conversation.
right? That's all. And like I talk to medical doctors, and I get 3 or 4 different opinions on something that's hurting my elbow, right? So, but then at the end of the day, I'm going to pick something, but I'm going to the experts and asking them their opinions. It's called second opinion, third opinion, right? Yeah. So we echo and champion the frustration across the table that people gotta sooner or later, wake up, smell the coffee, and say, how can we make it better? That's all. How can we make it better? And again, not throw away the key on anybody. These are all human beings. But when it's appropriate, a la carte, individual based, as opposed to blanket laws. And I'll just throw one more, and then we'll let Tiz go on to his question. Just look at the simple one, marijuana. Legalize it. I really don't care. Legalize. Just set up the cart and the horse in the right order. Get the business plans, get the stores ready to open. If not, when you legalize the possession of marijuana and you don't open one damn store for 3 years, it causes 10 times more chaos than the old marijuana trade used to. And we're sitting through a trial right now of a good friend of ours that was murdered in the marijuana trade. That's what happens.
Yep.
That's black and white. There's no argument with that. So slow things down, evaluate, make a look at it, and let's come to the table with honesty conversations. Say, how do we make it better? How to make it better? That's all.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Hey, that ends that counseling session.
Well, along that line, how do you legalize the possession of marijuana, but you can't legally buy it anywhere?
That's what I'm saying. The
Right.
cart's before the
Like,
horse, right? Yeah.
Yeah. When you sit down, it's like
Sit down and develop a business
whose
plan around
brainchild
this,
was that? So,
around
yeah.
Well, it's emotional based law creation. It's not factual based. And again, you want to legalize it, legalize. Just set
just do
set
it.
the wheels in motion the right way. Or go to Colorado, look what worked there. Go to another state, look what didn't work, and evaluate it. Not let's be next to do it. Hurry up. And that's where we get in trouble when we create laws. So. I may be fired too, but that's 2 more years. But
If they could, you would have been fired a long time ago.
But you're going to say,
you had a follow-up question?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
this
hit
is
that.
out the door already.
So there's a ton going on in our town. I think going back to your previous shift there.
right.
Don't think I forget Tisdale. I've got an Irish memory, trust me.
Oh, yeah, but just some new things, right? You got going on in
Yeah,
town.
a ton of stuff going on in the town. Yep, a lot of new people, and it's all great. It really is the building and the promotions and all that. But with people come issues. Not to be a downer, but I'm just being realistic.
Right.
But yeah, the town has grown significantly, and I think we're up to. It's got to be close to 30 bars now in town, which is nuts. I think there's 26, 28 liquor licenses right now, and I think 2 more are coming or something like that. So, yeah, there's a ton going on.
It's building. It's growing.
Ton going on in Fairport.
And playing off Tiz's question, you guys are always on the cutting edge. I was talking off the air, the autism patch, and now you guys are always on the cutting edge of working with the community, even so much as developing cars around those themes, right? And what's your latest one that we were talking off the air?
Yeah, for this year, actually, it was we partnered with Andrew Laughlin, one of your civil deputies, and he does a lot of stuff in our community. He's on the Gatestown board, but he also works with different nonprofit groups, and he brought this idea last year. He said, hey, why don't we do something for cure childhood cancer?
It's beautiful.
So we started looking at it, but we were like, well, that's one group that works on a bigger issue. So instead of being specific to one group, we made a childhood cancer awareness patch for the month of October, for the month of September, with all the gold on there. And it's actually a nice little unique thing that we did, and we hand them out to some of the kids, and got some responses from people. Had a family reach out that has a child going through some cancer stuff, and said, hey, we really appreciate you guys doing that. Would you guys mind sending us a patch? So, you see how that affects everybody. Next month we have our breast cancer awareness one. We're big on doing that. I'll wear my pink shirt.
Everything's
breast
pink and
cancer
Gates next month. It's amazing.
Yep.
Cars, T-shirts.
Oh yeah, we got the car, and I got my pink badge for the month with the stars, and then I'll put the pink shirt on for the walk, and we signed up Team Gates yesterday. Actually, we're working on that. I don't know anybody that's hasn't had that affect them in any sort of way. Family wise, department wise. So we go out and we do that.
Cops are always giving back, man. No matter what every time we do one of these episodes, we look around and like, what are people doing outside that uniform serving?
Yep.
And it's nonstop. It's
is.
never ending.
Yeah, and we jump into November, not to add, but it's like it seems 3 months in a row. So that's Veterans Month. We got our camouflage veterans patch and car. And
We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
well, us,
Veterans Day Parade, 11/11 this year.
we
Right
all
when it's supposed
appreciate our
to be, so,
veterans.
yeah.
And it's sad it's sad because my father-in-law's a Vietnam vet, and just listening to the utter disrespect and treatment that gentlemen like you guys and him got when they came back.
Yeah,
they go to do what they were doing, and then they come back, and our government doesn't support them.
Come on out, 11/11 Veterans Day Parade, and but with that being said, I got to run the Veterans Outreach Center for 3 years, a nonprofit, oldest nonprofit taking care of veterans in the local community base, started by Vietnam guys, right? They came back with that hell in the government they didn't trust, and they started this beautiful thing that now takes care of thousands of veterans a year here in Monroe County, right? That's what they created with that anger. That's what they created with that disconnect from the government because they needed to. They created something simply. That's what you could do with that passion, right? Mm-hmm. They came back and they were pounding holes in walls. Trust me, I still see the holes over there in South Avenue, and I can name some names. And the beautiful people like Gary Biker, came back and created something now that takes care of thousands of veterans and just fills the gap the VA can't do or whatever that looks like. But real quick, I know we're going to go into Miranda Zone, but Baja. You want to talk a little bit about Baja?
I do want to talk about Baja.
You want to talk about Baja? All right. We were
supposed to be preparing for Baja. We were supposed to be in Baja
next year.
2 months from now.
Next year.
The great Sheriff Todd Baxter wanted to do a bike ride from here to Egypt or wherever he went to and see a sunset or something like that.
His down 31.
Right. His geography, maybe that.
I think he took a few boat rides.
If
you don't know, Sheriff Baxter went on a 723 mile. How close am I?
755.
Now you're bragging. 755 mile bike ride from Rochester to Vermont and to Maine.
To Maine, the most eastern part of America. Yeah, Lubec, Maine.
And you saw the first sunrise in America, is that right?
It's the first place the sun touches the continent of the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, how long did it take you? 11 days?
11 days. We do the Baja 1000. Matt built this beautiful car. He crashed it once, so he built another car. He crashed it once. But this is in Baja, Mexico, and what an experience down there. The Mexican people are just
Who took that picture, Sheriff? Who took that picture?
I did. I think you're still in the car, but that's what a crunched up new bug looks like when you take the wrong
path. Out of that door still?
Talk about that stuff right there, man.
So just so you know, the most important part of that picture is we flipped it back over after we flipped several times down a mountain. And we drove another 500 miles, right, to the traffic.
And then we had those dents later on, still in it. Getting stuck in that filthy stuff. Pushing 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 hours, push. So we may be going back. But that's what we all need, that A-type personality. We all have adventures that we need to do and
definitely keep
ourselves sane. And so with that, we jump into the thing called the No Miranda Zone. You guys have been here before. We ask questions, you have to answer them. Simple as that.
Plead a fifth.
All right, here we go. Favorite show all time, guys?
The X-Files.
Oh, I like that show. That was a good show.
Never watched it.
What?
Probably Dukes of Hazzard. Every Friday night, my father and I watch the Dukes of Hazzard. Really? So you got to go with the Dukes of Hazzard.
There you go.
I have no idea how to follow that one up. I literally didn't see that coming.
It's the good old boy.
That's right. Most profound leader in your life.
Oh, my father.
God bless.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
You know,
outside of family?
No, that was perfect.
Yeah,
don't
qualify. My father raised 10 kids.
Yeah.
There's 7 girls and 3 boys in our family on a very, very minimal income. Works his tail off.
Yep.
He's 87 years old right now. Just great guy. You cannot say enough nice things about my father.
That's beautiful.
Really. Yeah. Just hardworking, as honest as it gets.
That's cool.
So I do not know a more honest or straightforward guy.
That's awesome. What a great character.
Yeah.
I gotta say ditto.
Yeah.
Dad and mom. So they died running the family, keeping everybody together through some hard times back in our days in our family. With loss and just providing for us and raising 2 boys. We didn't have the clan that you had over there, but still doing all that work. And mom going to school while working full time, working an extra job. Dad doing the same. Going to work and putting all those hours in just to provide for me. And it's great. And they had the right mindset too of keeping us in line. When you got out of line, they were parents.
Yep.
They weren't my friends. They were my parents.
Yep.
So,
guys, if money was no object, where would you travel?
Australia. I want to see Australia.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love Baja. Probably back to Baja.
Go back.
Yeah. There's a place I'd like to see in the world. One of them is Australia, but consistently, I don't know. Baja never disappoints to me.
Yeah, it's always given. And your question of Chief Barnes is profound because money is not a limitation in his world.
Oh, here we go. Should I want to, you know what? I'm going to be nice right
He doesn't
now.
know how to buy gas. That's a different story. But with that, we're going to wrap it up. We're 10 minutes over. But this is where the conversation with these two gentlemen go. And
Oh, thank
great
you.
to have you back.
Thanks for having us.
Share about
Appreciate it, Sheriff.
your last year
Tisdale,
of
thanks,
experience.
No problem.
Till next week, folks. Be safe.